بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والذين كذبوا بآياتنا ولقاء الآخرة حبطت أعمالهم هل يجزون إلا ما كانوا يعملون واتخذ قوم موسى من بعده من حليهم عجلا جسدا له خوار ألم يروا أنه لا يكلمهم ولا يهديهم سبيلا اتخذوه وكانوا ظالمين ولما سقط في أيديهم ورأوا أنهم قد ضلوا قالوا لئن لم يرحمنا ربنا ويغفر لنا لنكونن من الخاسرين صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Thank you, Mazijan. It was great. I hope we have a great and fruitful event today. Thank you everyone for joining. So now I would like to invite Afsana Rahimi, AWCCI's chairperson, to give us her welcoming remarks. Afsana Rahimi, who's the chairperson of Afghanistan Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and this is her second term serving as chairperson. She owns and runs her media services company, and she has been in this business for the last 15 years. As I said, this is her second term running or serving as AWCCI's chairperson, and her presence has made a lot of difference to AWCCI. Afsana John, over to you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to convey my very warm welcome to all guests and partners in this very special day for all women, especially which is happening in the month of March, which is from the beginning is for everybody's talking about Women's Day, and this event happened in this month. I'm getting this in a fallen medium. But after 7 months, we came in a very big event with a big number of women from different parts of Afghanistan, which is very hopeful for all of us, because in past 7 months we faced a lot of challenges. It wasn't easy for us because especially for women entrepreneurs, that they had a lot of problems, challenges, and they lost their hopes for continuing their business, because they had a lot of investment there, and they put all their asset and their hope and everything for their businesses, and they cannot they cannot had any type of hope. They didn't have any hope that they might continue, or they should stop their work, and many things. At AWCCI, we try to encourage women to have their own hopes and think positive about the situation, but it was difficult for all of us to survive, to struggle, and hopefully we are now at the right chain, and we are getting a little bit hope, and we have our friends in Afghanistan, and here their promise, their supports, and they are giving us hope that we can continue and we can move forward. So in this 7 months, we faced a lot of challenges, from not going out of home, from not having access to our businesses, to our finances, to our bank accounts. So things are getting slowly to the right chain. So I would like to end my welcome remarks by thanking all our supporters of AWCCI members, businesswomen, businessmen, that they are always showing their supports for us, and the women that they are here from different part of the country, from the different part of the world. They are showing their support. They are giving us a lot of positive energy that we can continue. They are with us, especially those that they support us in this very big event for this Bibi Khadija Award, which is continuing since 7 years, and I also one of the awardee in 2017. And you know, when we are receiving such award, it gives us a lot of positive energy. So I would like to do special thanks to Manager John, Parvarish John, Giving Joy, SOIP, UNDP, and our special guest in this event. And I'm really thankful for being with us and supporting us as women and as entrepreneurs. We are very grateful of all what they are doing for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Afsana John. Next, I would like to, before inviting our next speaker, I would like to recognize a few people in the audience. The first one would be, of course, none other than our Rina John Amiri, the Special Envoy to the of the U.S. government for Afghan women and human rights in Afghanistan issues. Thank you very much for joining today. And a number of our friends from the other chambers, from Afghanistan Chamber of Commerce and Investment, Afghanistan's branch of International Chamber of Commerce, Ratib Saib, Popal Saib, and the World Trade Organization, WTO's Kabul branch head, Rahman Saib. Thank you very much, everyone, and a number of our other friends. Thanks. Next on the agenda, we have had Mr. Abdullah Al-Dardari, the country representative of UNDP to Afghanistan. I don't see him in the participants for the time. So I would like to move to our next speaker, Abdul Wahab Al-Kabsi, Managing Director, Programs for Center for International Private Enterprise, to please share her opening remarks today with us. Welcome, Abdul, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Manisha. And let me start by thanking Marziya. What a beautiful recitation, Marziya. You are Razia Marziya. It was beautiful. I was touched. I really got emotional. I got messages from my colleagues at SIPE. That was so beautiful. My name is Abdul Wahab Al-Kibsi, Abdul for my friends, and I'm the Managing Director for Programs at the Center for International Private Enterprise. And along with our colleagues at the Afghanistan Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I want to welcome everybody to the 4th Afghanistan National Women's Entrepreneurship Summit and the 7th Bibi Khadija Annual Award. I want to start by thanking the U.S. Special Envoy for Afghan Women, Girls, and Human Rights, Rina Amiri. Rina, can you hear me? I hear noise in the background. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
All right, because I heard noise in the background, so I want to make sure you can hear me. So I want to thank Rina today for showing up with us. Rina, we are so grateful for your participation and for your dedication to women and girls in Afghanistan. Thank you for Giving Joy and for UNDP Afghanistan for participating in this very worthy effort. Afsana, Manisha, thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I'm really honored and I'm really humbled. I want to tell you that SITE has women's economic empowerment programs all over the globe. We support women's entrepreneurship. We try to remove barriers to women's entrepreneurship and leadership around the globe, from Papua New Guinea through Southeast Asia, through South Asia, Bangladesh, Central Asia, Europe, Middle East, Africa, Latin America, and our work with the Afghanistan Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry since 2017 has been on top of that list. We work with the AWCCI on women's economic inclusion in Afghanistan. But now that work in Afghanistan is more important, yet really more challenging than ever. But this is the right time for the AWCCI to shine. AWCCI is the right organization at the right time, in the right place. AWCCI is now a leader of the work that SITE does. AWCCI now is mentoring women's business associations around the world working with SITE. Congratulations, you are the right organization at the right time, in the right place. When our colleagues at the Center for Women's Economic Empowerment at SITE and at AWCCI gave me the opportunity to offer remarks today, I really jumped on it. As a man originally from Yemen, who was raised by a single mother in the middle of last century in Yemen and in the Middle East, who was really fortunate to subsequently be married to a very strong woman, who has subsequently now 3 strong grown-up daughters and a granddaughter, I am personally vested in this, in addition to my professional passion for women's economic empowerment. I'm really passionate about AWCCI. I'm really passionate about Afghanistan, what we can do together for women in Afghanistan. But I'm also very passionate about Mother Khadija, in whose name we're giving an award today. History is usually written by men, as we all know. And you know, the prophets, companions, and the prophets, the men around him and his family, get a lot of mention, and rightfully so. They're glorified. But there are strong, powerful women leaders in our history, like Aisha, like Fatima, like Zainab, and Khadija, Mother Khadija, above all. She was a strong, successful businesswoman, an entrepreneur, trading between Sham, what is now known as Syria, and Mecca, what in now Saudi Arabia. She hired young Muhammad at that time. She was his boss. She was his mentor. She helped him learn a lot of the skills that he got. She actually asked his hand in marriage and then supported him in his early life. And when he received the message and delivered it, who was there with him? Who was his partner? Who was his confidant? Who was closer and more trusted than any man around him? It was Mother Khadija. Mother Khadija blazed the trails for all of us, for all of you. Let us keep her as the guiding light as we do what we do in Afghanistan and around the world. I want to thank you all for allowing SITE to be part of this. I want to thank my colleagues, Barb, Aaron, Elizabeth, and the team at Center for Women's Economic Empowerment. I want to thank our team that works in Afghanistan. And most of all, thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Abdul. It was really great to hear from you on Mother Khadija, or how we call it in our language, Bibi Khadija. And you made my job easy, because I have to go through some of the things that you said about Bibi Khadija, how she was a trader and why we chose to name this award after her, which I will come then and talk about it. So before inviting our next speaker, Abdullah Al-Dardari, and I'm glad that he joined us, I would like to recognize a number of other guests in the audience, such as our dear Dr. Terry Neese, the founder and CEO of Institute for Economic Empowerment of Women, IEW, who has served Afghan businesswomen, training and mentoring them through its program Peace Through Business for the last 16 years. And Sarah Greengrass, the Executive Director for U.S. Afghan Women's Council. Some of our friends from the South Asia. I can see one of them here from Nepal. Welcome, Sarojini ji. And Yeah, thank you very much for joining, all of you. And our board members, very important, not to forget. Board members of Kabul, Herat, Balkh, Nangarhar, and Kandahar, and all our members, all the women from almost, I can see some of the names that at least I know, at least from 15, 16 provinces have been connected today with us. And the great participation, as you all can see, 95, 96 at this moment. Thank you very much, everyone. So with that, I would like to invite Mr. Abdullah Al-Dardari, the country representative of UNDP to Afghanistan. Welcome, and the floor is yours, Abdullah.
Thank you very much, and please accept my sincere apologies for this delay. Sometimes the internet lets you down and find yourself in such awkward positions. So I apologize, and you know, I have a written speech actually, but if you, I'll share with you the written speech. I just want to say a few words here, not to take a long time. UNDP is proud and honored to be partner in this very important event. We had spoken about this, dear Manija, maybe 3 years ago, that UNDP wants to support Bibi Khadija's prize. And here we are today. And this is very telling that after 15 August and all the upheavals that Afghanistan has been going through, we find ourselves here today celebrating Bibi Khadija, celebrating your tremendous work as Afghanistan Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and all the partners that you have managed to mobilize the CIPE. And of course, I'm so happy to see my old friend, Dr. Abdul Wahab Al-Kisbi here today as well. What a great alliance for women in Afghanistan. Ali and Dr. Alaras. What a great alliance for women in Afghanistan. And at this moment, dear colleagues, at this moment, when we were feeling despaired and we were feeling almost hopeless and helpless, here we are, we see these shining examples of what does Afghan mean, what does Afghan businesswoman mean. We are really honored and blessed that UNDP has a place to play and a role to play and a place to occupy in this situation. Our support to women in Afghanistan is unwavering on a number of fronts. The first is the question of human rights. Whether women working or not working, it is her right to be able to do her enterprise. It is her right to be able to get education, health, and a career. It's a question of rights first. Secondly, there is no future for the Afghanistan economy without women. You may have seen our socioeconomic outlook for Afghanistan, which says already by now, the GDP of Afghanistan lost $1 billion, an additional $1 billion, because women were not, did not have the full access to the labor market like they had before. And before, and let's agree that they didn't have the desired access to labor before. They didn't have the desired access to finance, to technical assistance, to opportunities as we would want and as they would want. So we are here committed to doing a few things. First of all, fighting for women's rights because they are human rights, and the UN will continue to work on these bases. Secondly, making sure that economic recovery for Afghanistan depends, and I'm saying this from a pure economistic point of view, depends on women's active participation in the economy. You may not know, but if I can tell you that labor productivity of a female worker in Afghanistan is higher than the labor productivity of a male worker of the same level of education or skills. And denying Afghan women the right to get educated and get skills and get access to finance will have structural weaknesses. It will structurally weaken the Afghan economy on the medium and long term. So recovery for Afghanistan from where it is today can only happen through economic empowerment of women. And economic empowerment of women is not just a question of providing some technical assistance and some money. Economic empowerment of women, in my personal opinion, and that's how UNDP is operating and will be operating, is to make sure that in every walk of life in the country, in every economic sector, in every economic decision is taken, the question of gender and human rights and women's rights is at the heart of that decision making. So, for example, UNDP helped set up the Special Trust Fund for Afghanistan, and we have determined the 14 UN agencies that are now partners in this Special Trust Fund for Afghanistan have decided that at least 30% of every dollar we receive in that fund should directly go to women, directly. And the 70% have to be with gender marker and clear gender tracing and the ability to track how these 70% are helping women. And this commitment will continue in the next few months and years. Our contribution today to the Bibi Khadija Prize is only a very, very, very small token of what we intend to do and what the Afghan women need. And their needs are much bigger than all of our resources. And I am certain that they are capable of taking their future in their hands. Our role is just to help and to support. Dr. Abdul Wahab spoke about Bibi Khadija, or who we call Sayyida Khadija. We can talk about her until tomorrow morning, and it will not be enough. The fact that the Afghan Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry adopted that monumental symbol of Muslim women and Muslim women enterprises for that prize is just significant in the way who can oppose a prize for a woman business that is named after Bibi Khadija? Who among any Muslim school of thought can oppose or can stop against something like this? Sayyida Khadija, Bibi Khadija is an example for all of us. And I can assure you, as UNDP, as chairman of the Special Trust Fund for Afghanistan, and as Abdullah personally, that our commitment to success of this prize and to expanding this prize in the years to come, and to our commitment to empowering Afghan women, because a new political economy is shaping up in Afghanistan, and we want to make sure Afghan women occupy their rightful place in that political economy. Let me stop here. I will share the written note to you, but I wanted to speak from the heart to your hearts, and believe me that I'll be back in Kabul next week, and I'll meet with the team, and we will discuss in more details what are we going to be doing together, the things that we started before, how we continue and expand in the next few weeks and months. Thank you. I'm sorry to have taken too long, and again, apologies for the delay in joining the meeting. Thank you, and back to you, dear Manisha.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very important, yes, to allocate a great percentage and have some quotas for women. And that you have done 30% is great from that fund. And yes, so not only the award is named after Bibi Khadija, but also a revolving fund that we started in the two initial institutions that supported that fund was Afghanistan International Bank. I should recognize them, AIB, thanks to them, and USER. When we came to UNDP contributed to our Bibi Khadija revolving fund. So thank you very much, which was interest-free, by the way. And so I would not make you wait for our keynote speaker, Vinod Amiri, and just would like to make one more recognition in the audience. Morijan Akrami, who's the executive director of Afghan Women's Network, and who has been a great advocate for women's rights in general for the last 25 years or so. And so she always has don't talk about the number of years because she would look old. So we won. You're 15 years old, Marijan. So I would like to introduce Vinod Amiri. Vinod is currently the U.S. Special Envoy for Afghan women, girls, and human rights. And under the Obama's administration, she served as senior advisor to the U.S. Special Representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan. Vinod brings over 2 decades of political expertise, advising and working with governments in various conflict settings in West and the Horn of Africa, the Middle East, Central and South Asia, and Europe. And her areas of focus are peace and security, with a specialization and inclusion in mediation process. Vinod, thank you very much for serving as our special envoy. We have a lot of hopes and expectations, which we don't want you to feel burdened with, but we trust that you will be able to carry out in the best you can do. And thank you for joining us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salam alaikum. I just really want to thank the Afghan Chamber of Commerce and Industry for asking me to be a part of this discussion and to address this very important group. I also want to acknowledge and commend the strong statements of the speakers that came before me. As you noted, it makes my work a lot easier because they noted a lot of the really important points, that particularly the arguments that have been made against women's employment, women's education by the Taliban are contrary to the tradition of Islam, are contrary to our heritage, and to the, I say that as a Muslim woman, as a woman of Afghan heritage, that I grew up with, where I am today is because of the stories that I grew up with about Islam, about Afghanistan, about, I grew up with an understanding of Islam as a religion that was in many ways a visionary Islam, a visionary religion that liberated women, that empowered women. I grew up with the stories of Bibi Khadija and the countless other women leaders from the Muslim world. And that enabled me to have a vision for my own future that allowed me to carve out a path to where I am today. I saw that my religion and my culture as giving me agency and power. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we have had tremendous challenges, and I think those challenges come less from honestly from our religion or from the culture, but from power, a differential, and from imposition of a narrative that is not aligned with the heritage of Islam. And even if we look at Afghanistan, its diversity and richness of culture, some interpretation of a monolithic interpretation of a monolithic understanding of the Afghan culture that does not align with the various with just the full diversity and the different stages of Afghan history and the way that these issues have been approached. It has been marked by tremendous challenges, but there has been a lot of complexity. And I think no more than, and then the last 20 years in particular, it was not something that the international community certainly provided financial support, provided political openings, but it was Afghan women themselves, supported by Afghan men, who were able to make the progress that they did. This was not something that was given or handed by the international community. It was Afghan women's resilience, leadership, and ingenuity. And this is what this group today exemplifies. Just, I'm incredibly moved that 7 months after, the horrifying scenes that we witnessed on August 15th, the stripping of Afghan women's overnight, that that we're coming together to honor and congratulate the awardees. It shows the resilience, the fortitude, and the ingenuity in Afghanistan that will ultimately lead Afghanistan to the path of stability and peace. And that path is going to be carved by Afghan women. Despite the challenges, I believe. I'm so glad that we have started out this discussion by countering, this false narrative that the Taliban has put out in terms of where Sharia stands on these issues. It's not just looking at history, but it's also looking more broadly in terms of the context of the neighbors, that we can see that the Taliban's understanding is out of date and ill-informed. I was just visiting. Part of what I'm trying to do is bring in the voices of the Muslim world to make the case also that women's rights, human rights are not inconsistent with Islam. And I was in Saudi Arabia, and I was very inspired because in a country that has had many challenges, and then in some ways has been seen as a model that has introduced restrictions in the last couple of decades in regard to putting forth a more conservative version of Islam, that they have taken a step back and have recognized that to achieve a diversified economy, a successful economy, a forward-leaning society and economy, they have to empower their women. They have instituted a number of different measures to eliminate the restrictions to women's employment, economic participation, mobility. And between, I think it was 2017 and 2019, they multiplied the number of women entrepreneurs by 50%. And it was encouraging to see, everywhere that I went, just this burgeoning of women's entrepreneurship. And this is happening not just there, but in many parts of the Muslim world. In the United Arab Emirates, they have instituted new laws and reforms to enable women's entrepreneurship. And Bahrain, they have introduced measures to give women access to credit and to institute measures to enable women to engage more robustly in the economy. There's a recognition throughout the Muslim world that women are a force multiplier for good governance, economic growth, poverty eradication, and improving the livelihood, the nutrition of children, of society as a whole. And the position that the Taliban have taken have been absolutely contrary to that. Since I started my position, I've engaged the Taliban formally at least twice, where I've sat across from them, and I've said exactly this point, that, and I bring up the UNDP numbers, that the assessment that Afghanistan is losing $1 billion by the restrictions that it has imposed on Afghan women. For a country as poor as Afghanistan, that is absolutely unsustainable. The Taliban say that they want to move towards an Afghanistan that is not donor dependent, that is durable and sustainable. And what I note is that that there is no way for them to do that when they are restricting 50% of the population from access to education and to employment, and that there's a forked road ahead. They can, they are the force on the ground right now, and it is incumbent upon them to think, now that they are in this position where they believe that they can govern the country, there's a forked road. They can exhibit power by pushing down the population, by pushing down women, and that's going to be a road that's going to lead Afghanistan to more devastation, more destruction, more poverty, and continue the devastating cycle of conflict that has gone on for over 40 years. Or there is another road in which they pull up the population, particularly women, and empower them to be a force for economic sustainability in the country. And I note to them that they should look to the rest of the Muslim world and understand this is not just an issue. This is not something that the West is prescribing, but this is something that is backed by numbers, and by data from throughout the Muslim world. And it's a conversation that I'm going to continue with them. But regardless of where their stance is, I can be clear to you that the international community recognizes the essential roles that Afghan women play and are with you. This is why my position was created by the Biden administration, because there's a recognition that there's no stability in Afghanistan without women. And so my role and my engagement with you is to leverage your voices, to identify opportunities for you, to engage with you, to not only to identify partnerships and for support in the U.S., but also when I'm traveling through, when I was in Jeddah and Qatar, everywhere that I went, I talked about Afghan women entrepreneurs and just the immense progress that had been achieved, that there had been over 57,000 women-led businesses and entrepreneurs throughout the country. And that spirit, that resilience, that is still there, and that Afghan women will not allow the Taliban to simply make them stop all of this. Despite all of the challenges, they are going to find their way, but they need support. They need financial support. They need the space to be created by engagement with the Taliban. And they need to identify how to get Afghan women in a position that they can put food on the table for their families and that they can carve a future that is more hopeful for the country. So I look forward to hearing from all of you. And I thank you and I commend you for all the work that you're doing. And I stand by you and look forward to identifying how to work with you all. Thank you very much. Tashakkur.
Thank you, Rina John. There is no stability without women in Afghanistan. A great note to end your remarks. And thank you very much for emphasizing on Afghan women's resilience and Afghan women's important role to rebuild and again restart the whole process that they had started and was halted by August 15th incident. So thank you very much, Rina John. It was very heartwarming. I would like to recognize a few other people in the audience, some of the old friends, some of the old supporters, but still, I mean, they continue supporting Kamala Jan Siddiqui, who was the acting, in her last position, the acting Minister of Commerce and Industry, and has been a part of all this movement with all of us for all these years. So thank you for joining, Kamala Jan. And Arshif Hasham, who's the regional economic advisor now with Aga Khan Foundation. And he has been for the last few years in Afghanistan, has been a great support. Thank you for joining us, Arshif, today. And thank you. I know you're still in Afghanistan doing some great work. Thanks. Okay, so we are going to jump into our panel discussion, which is something that all of us are waiting to hear from our women from Afghanistan. We have put together a great panel that's going to be moderated by our great colleague, Erin Benedict, the Program Officer for Center for Women's Economic Empowerment at the CIPE, Center for International Private Enterprise. And our panelists are from Kandahar, Herat, Nangarhar, and Balkh, the major 4 other provinces other than Kabul. So without further ado, over to you, Erin.
Great. Thank you so much, Manija. Thank you for inviting me to moderate this panel today. And further thanks and compliments to all the speakers that we've heard from this morning. Your opening remarks have all been very excellent. But without further ado, I'm happy to introduce the 4 panelists that will be joining us for this discussion this morning. From Kandahar, we have Layla Afaq, owner of Kandahar Sisters Shopping Center. Layla is a medical doctor by profession, but has been very vital to women's economic empowerment in Kandahar province. She created women's shops in the middle of a market in Kandahar, and she was importing products for women's needs, selling women's handicrafts and things of that nature. She had directly employed 15 women and served as the chair of the board of directors for AWCCI's Kandahar South region. Next, joining us from Herat is Afsana Arsi, owner of Armis IT Company. Afsana established this tech company in Herat to provide services to women, by women, and for women. She wanted women to feel safe going somewhere to download apps and programs on their smartphones and computers. Afsana recently joined AWCCI's Herat board of directors. Next from Mazar is Freshta Akbari, owner of Nasif Confectionery and Bakery. Freshta established a confectionery and tea shop in Mazar city. She recently opened a new branch of her confectionery, and she wanted to bring the taste of various city sweets to Mazar. She's an active member of the businesswoman community in Balkh. And finally joining us is Adina Barksai, owner of Naveed Afghan Handicraft Company in Jalalabad. Adina's bedding sets are sold in several cities across the country, and she started this business to use women's hand embroidery on household items that are loved across the country. She's an active member of the businesswomen's community in her province. So I've put together a series of questions, but we will save time at the end for questions and answers. So please feel free to start generating questions in the chat now, and we'll come to them at the end of our session. My first question is for Layla. Can you please provide us an overview of what the women's business community has experienced in general in the past 6 months? And how active are women in your province today?
دکتر صاحب صدا رو میشنوین؟ خدا انمیوت کنین. Okay, so I think maybe we would want to move to another question with another panelist, because unfortunately we have to do this with the internet in Afghanistan. So yes, please bear with us.
Yeah, that's fine. We can move on to Afsana. Afsana, the reports we have heard here in the US suggest that the Taliban's orientation towards women business owners vary by province, with looser restrictions in some areas rather than others. And Herat has been used as an example of a region where women have been able to resume limited business operations. So what does the situation on the ground in Herat look like currently, and how has business changed in this new operating environment?
Hello everyone, I hope all of you be fine and healthy. Thank you so much. I am very happy to meet you in this program. All of you know, when Afghanistan attacked with the Taliban, the women cannot go to anywhere. They cannot go to continue their education or their businesses. After some days, women go to the street and they request their rights. And after that, the Taliban said, if when a woman have a private business, they can't start their business. It's not any problem, and the woman start their problem. But some others, the woman cannot start their business because they have some problem, because they think if I start my business, after some days they come and kill me. It's because they think some things about the Taliban. They don't trust the Taliban because after the Taliban camps happened some bad situation in Afghanistan. And after that, the Herat province limited of women start their work after 2 or 3 months ago when Taliban attack Afghanistan. They have some problems. They employee are not in Afghanistan. They cannot. They have some lack of resources in their businesses, and we have a center in Afghanistan in Herat province, Khadijatul Kubra. In this center, after in the previous government, they have several women have large businesses. They have communication with each other. They attend in several exhibitions. But in this government, maybe stay 4 or 5 shops in this center. It's very bad news because we ask some question from these women. We are another businesswomen. They tell they go to Iran or another place. They say that maybe if the situation was like that, we are have to go to other provinces, or we cannot continue our business because they doesn't have customers. When they doesn't have customers, they cannot grow their businesses. They can't achieve income to grow their businesses. It's very hard for all of us because the woman can't continue their education. No. In 1 week ago, I started university for women go to university, but there are some bad news about the situation in Afghanistan. They say that maybe in the next month in Afghanistan became a fire. It's very hard. They think if we spend some money in growing my business, maybe there are fights and I cannot use from this. There are lots of things that the woman cannot continue their businesses, or they cannot continue, or they cannot think about what should we do in our businesses. They cannot predict what happened in the next minute ago or 1 day ago. They cannot create a special plan or business plan for us. Inshallah, in the future, we solve this situation, and we live in the peaceful environments, continue our businesses, and we all of us hope we help all of us. I want to thank you so much from Mani Jawafiq or all of you to stay with us, because we are in this participate in this program. We thanks inshallah all of these things go to the past. We are growing. We are go to the new days, and inshallah in the future all of the bad situation go to the past, and we continue our business and have the best days in our lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Afsana. That was very useful to hear and understand that even with the limited operations resumed in Herat, the situation remains very dire. I see that Dr. Layla has rejoined us. So Dr. Layla, if you are able to hear me, we had hoped that you could provide an update on the business situation, generally speaking, in the country and more specifically in Kandahar. Are you and your friends able to operate your businesses? Is there any flexibility, or does the environment not allow for that? Dr. Layla, over to you.
دکتر صاحب صداتان نمیشنویم. کاش که در جای برین که اینترنتتان یکم بهتر باشه. گپ بزنید.
Yeah, I hear you. Thank you so much. Thank you for Ms. Wafa or me or and can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Dr. Saib. Okay, maybe we try Adina, Aaron.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's fine. We can move on to the next. Hopefully Dr. Layla's internet improves. If Freshta is with us as an active member of the women's business community, how are you and your peers advocating at this point? Are women eager to continue engaging with the new government, and has there been success in doing so? Given your membership with AWCCI, I'm sure you've had much advocacy experience, and we wonder if there's any ability to continue now. And if Freshta is having some difficulty unmuting. Oh, great. Please.
صدایت داریم ما فرشته جان بفرمایید.
با عرض سلام خدمت همه را بزرگان. امید
فرشته جان یک دقیقه که دوستای خارجی رو فرشته جان باش که دوستای خارجی رو بگوییم که سویچ کنن به interpretation English. Friends, you can switch to English interpretation in the bottom of your screens because Freshta is speaking in Farsi. Yeah, we'll just give it 1 second. فرشته جان یک لحظه. اینال فرشته جان جواب
اما این همه چالش ها و مشکلات زنان عقبی باشوان کردن و هنوز هم تجارت میکنن و باز هم لاتات و از طرف آنلاین با روش تجارت میکنه و بتانیم تجارت خود پیش رفتیم و شخصا خود با تحول که به یک کارخانگی خود فاسدم خانم کار کنن بله که البته قبل کار اما باز هم به کار می باشن و هم اتحادات که در اقتصادی در سرمایه‌هاش تا وجود آورده که خیلی از شرکت ها شکست خورده و با که دوباره میگم شرکت ها بتوانن دوباره خود آغاز کنن نیاز حق آزادی دارن تا بتوانن دوباره حق آزادی خود از طرف دولت بد بیارن تا اینا کاروبار خود شروع بکنن و نیاز به حمالی دارن تا بتوان زمین بیشتر برای خانم ها زمین کار را هم نمایند. بسیار از من جان از اینکه میشه کاری کردم ماها را برای ما ایجاد کرد. تشکر.
Aaron.
That's great. Thanks so much, Freshta. Adina, I hope that you are able to hear us. And if you are, we would love to ask, how do you plan to continue engaging in business moving forward? At this time, do you feel that there are ways that you are able to pivot and remain active in operating your business?
دقیقاً بله ها ما تا هنوز دیسته که ما بتونیم پیش بونیم مثلا قبلا که ما کاربار خود پیش بردیم آیلن ما بخش فروش ده یک بخش از مردار هم در کار گرفتیم تا بتونن کاربرین آنها میتونن داخل کارخانه و تولیدی را خانم به این شکل ما باز هم کاربار خیارت خود آمدیم و هرگز توقف نکردیم.
Okay, so first I thought the question was for her, so she responded. It's okay. Yeah. فرشته جان تشکر. آدینا جان شما بچم سوال ایران شنیدین؟
ببخشید من فکر کردم هدف شما بود.
نه خیلی تشکر فرشته جان. آدینا جان شما سوال ایران شنیدین؟ آدینا جان؟
سلام به خودت منیجر جان و به تمام اشتراک کنندگان این کنفرانس. بله من سوال گرفتم. فکر میکنم پرسیده بودن که چگونه ما میتونیم که تجارت خود میتونیم پیش ببریم در شرایط فعلی.
بله بفرمایید. جواب بدهید.
و فعال ببانیم. اما قسمت سوالشان.
بله بفرمایید.
زنده باشیم. تشکر. وقتی که رژیم تغییر کرد افغان قبل ما بسیار مایوس شده بودیم به خاطر که تمام زنان افغان نمیتونستند که فعالیت‌های خود مثل سابق ادامه بدن و من یک تشکری خاص میکنم که زنای افغان همگی فراموش کردن و هیچ کسی آینده شاید نتونن زنها کار کنن و کسی کمکشان کنه و فعلا که من میبینم که در یاد همگی هستیم. من یک تشکر خاص از همگی شما میکنم و ما میخوایم پلانی که ما دارم که کارهای خود در این شرایط که بسیار یکی کرونا ما را زیاد مشکلات اقتصادی شرکت ما را ضربه زد و دیگه تغییر رژیم بسیار سر تولیدات ما و سر اقتصاد ما بسیار تاثیر ناگوار ماند. از همین خاطر ما پلانای گرفتیم روی دست که چگونه بتانیم که برنامه ریزی کنیم که ما کار ما را ادامه بدیم و فعال ببانه شرکت ما و زنایی که همراه ما کار میکنن اونام زندگیشان خوبتر پیش بره و همراه ما. پلانایی که ما در کوتاه مدت دوام کارهای شرکت مایی بوده که و بازار بسیار یک مارکت بازاریابی بسیار فوق‌العاده باید ما می داشتیم و وضعیت اقتصادی افغانستان که خراب است ایجا به خاطر تولیدات به چندین بخش خرد و بزرگ تقسیم کردیم و در بخش مارکت خارجی کمک خواستیم از دوستایی که در خارج هستن که برخواد در داخل اگر مارکت خوبتر پیدا نتونستیم در خارج ما بتانیم که تولیدات خود مثلا لباس است، چادرهای دست دوزی است بتانیم در لندن، استرالیا، کانادا و دیگه امریکا از طریق دوستای ما و قسم شخصی ما بتانیم فروشات کنیم و ما در پولی از تولیدات در پولی سیت خواب و اطفال که شرکت نوید افغان شرکت ما و لباس دستدوزی تولید میکنه یک بخش دیگر فعال کردیم که مارکت بسیار خوب داره. حجاب دوزی است که دوام صنایع دستی ما میدوزیم به او خاطر بسیار به شکل استاندارد و معیاری میدوزیم که فروشات از وام بسیار خوب شده و بسیار همکارای ما همکارای را جذب کردیم، کارمندایی را که به مسلکی هستند و در بخش‌های مختلف اداری در بخش مسلکی ما افراد دیگر خود خانما را به کار گرفتیم که بتانه که امروی ما کمک کنه تا از این مشکلات فعلی در بیاییم.
Thank you. I think I'm glad that her internet supported so much.
Yes, me as well. That was great, and that actually answered another question that I had prepared about the prevalence of international sales and the ability to do so at this time. We have just I think to save time for questions from the audience, I might ask just one or two more questions. So I wanted to circle back to Afsana, who works in the digital economy, to ask, have you had much success with digital economy solutions at this time? Have you seen that other women in your community have been able to pivot to online sales? Afsana, if you could hear me, it would be great to have you jump in.
Yes, in Afghanistan, the internet is very weak. They cannot use from internet do very well services, but some companies have some online products or provide online services. One is Abrisham. It has a page, Facebook page used from this one. Or they use from the Instagram, Telegram to communicate with the country. They cannot use from a website to sell their products to the customer. They use from the social media like Facebook, Telegram, and WhatsApp. Share their product with the customers. Customers can call them with the phone, and they deliver the product by a car or a motorbike. They have some businesses like this. If they support, they can create a website and use from that. Inshallah, in the future, because after the Taliban came in Afghanistan, was the COVID-19. In COVID-19, all of the place was closed. They think about which we can use from which way to continue their businesses. They use more from the social media. When the Taliban attack, at the first they think we cannot go to the bazaar and continue our business. And after the Taliban still you can start your businesses. They start their business offline and online. Especially, they use the offline businesses because all of the people go to market and see their products, but in online have some problems, internet problems or other problems. For this reason, inshallah, in the future, it's maybe improve, because no people use less than from the internet. But in Afghanistan, electricity sometimes is not good and the internet is weak. Inshallah, if this problem solved, they can use more than and they can communicate with the other countries with the online, because technology is growing, and in other countries the business online businesses is very but in Afghanistan is not, because the internet and electricity. Inshallah, in the future, if the woman in Afghanistan or man supported in technology part, they can communicate with other countries online or offline. They can export their products in international markets. And nowadays in Herat and other countries or other provinces are some businesses online. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Afsana. And both Afsana and Adina highlighted another important issue, COVID. It just seems like there are a number of constraints right now, including COVID. So thank you for highlighting that. One final question before we start taking questions from the audience. And this is open to any of the panelists who wish to answer. In this event this morning, there are a number of representatives from non-governmental organizations, the public sector, and other stakeholders based in the US and elsewhere. So I ask, If you had one sort of top line request from the international community to support business women in Afghanistan, what would that be? What can we do to support Afghan women entrepreneurs at this time? And this is open to anyone on the panel who wishes to answer. Afsana, please go ahead.
Can I answer this question? Okay, someone else is going.
You know, in Afghanistan, Afghan people have a very big problem. It's the security. There is not security, but they continue their businesses. They love their country. They want to stay in their country and grow their country. I want to say, if anyone can help Afghan people, please do that. I want to, from the West, to support Afghan women in several parts. They can support Afghan businesswomen to participate in some exhibition in other country, in exhibition of international, because the products of the Afghan women is very nice. They are very excellent. They need some supporting. They need to export their product to other countries. If the West country or other country create some online training for women in some parts of the business, like marketing plan, or they can train to women, businesswomen in Afghanistan, to how to create online businesses. It's very useful for all of the women in our country. They can use from this online to communicate with other the country in all of the world. They can export, or they can send online their products. It may be all of the products they have. They can easily send their products to other country when they have some exported in the other country. They use this. They have more income. They can use from this income to grow their businesses. And other one is they can have some exhibition or online classes, and or it's very better if they have some seminar offline. They support in this part to go to see the businesses they can use from their ideas, and come back to Afghanistan and apply to her businesses. It's very better, and some Afghan women have economic problems after the Taliban camp. They lose their customers. They should start from the first. They should use lots of money to advertise their businesses. If they can support an economy part for women to they start or continue their businesses, like the reviews. It's very excellent. I want to thank you so much from you and from other people. I want to thank you so much from all of the people stay till no with Afghan people, because no, we cannot decide, we cannot predicate what's happening, but all of us want to stay in Afghanistan and improve the Afghanistan by improving our business and improving our life.
That's great. Thank you so much for your remarks, Afsana. We really appreciate it. And before we move on to audience questions, I did see Adina briefly raise her hand. I'm not sure, Adina, if you had additional thoughts to add as well.
I hope her internet supports.
با سلام مجدد در بخش سوال خانم من میخوایم که جامعه بین المللی زنان افغان تنها نگذارن و
to help the Afghan women not to leave us alone, and we would like to have financial assistance, so the economic aid, and we would like help on marketing and access to the international markets if we could possibly be helped, and if we could be helped with the standardization of our products. That is another area that we can be helped, so that we could, for instance, understand for the international market, for instance, for the United States of America, what kind of design women want there, what kind of clothing women are looking at, what do they wear, so that we can produce for the markets of the United States of America and the others. And like we can do the handmade products for those customers. These are certain areas that I think are very important, and we will be looking at the assistance from the international community on them. And then again, her voice is breaking. We the Afghan women really need financial aid. We need financial assistance, which is really, really important. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll move on to the question and answer period, but I know that we are running a little bit out of time. So we might take just maybe 2 questions before we move on to the next part of the session. So we might start, I think I've seen Karima Siddiqui's hand up for some time. So Karima, if you'd like to jump in and answer a question, or ask a question rather, to one of our 4 panelists, please go ahead.
In the name of Allah, thank you so much that you make and you and also AWCCI that make this opportunity for women and this online meeting. And also I want to say you that today there is so problem in Afghanistan that the women's work, but the women fortunately try to work and continue their work, because they tried in the past to make their company empower, and today don't want to stop. But the government don't have sustainability. Do you know? The women don't know what they do and how they can stand up and how they improve their company or their works. But I think if you want to work for women and if you want to help women, please directly work with women. If you want to work for women, you must don't send for government anything. Just send for the AWCCI that they are directly connect to women and they can help for women, because they have a list of women that they want to work in future of Afghanistan. And every day they try to make their opportunity light. Do you know? It's so important that you make this opportunity for women that they can take some of your helps for their company and try to make a good future for them and also for their family, because the economy of Afghanistan is so bad today. And please, if you and your partner want to help for women, it makes so easily by directly connect with AWCCI and they are directly connect for women that want to work in Afghanistan and improve. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karima. We will take just one last question before we move forward with the program. Hadri, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask your question, you can have the final word for this session.
سلام من گلجان هستم.
Greetings, my name is Guljan. I'm very happy to be participating in today's program. Manija, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Could you just nod your head, or just, she's asking if she can be heard.
بسیار خوش هستم از
I'm very happy. I'm very happy with today's program. This has been after a very long time, after some frustration and disappointment that the women of Afghanistan had, particularly women in the sector of the business, that we were so pessimistic. It's been hopeful that now there are windows of hope. One of such examples can be our today's meeting. But then again, this is not going to be enough by itself. What I would like to say, yes, I'm very happy to have seen Honorable Rina Amiri, and I would seriously like to request her as someone who can see what the situation of the women is like, and she's seeing it from the far. It's not only enough that she sees it and she observes it. Particularly women in the business sector have really been affected. We had a lot of supporters to the women who were in the civil society and the others, but for the women who were in the private sector, we did not have much advocacy done on the global level. So my request is, so she's saying there were not much of an advocacy done for the business women of Afghanistan. There was some done for the women civil activists. Now, if you think that such a system comes, and particularly for the private sector, like if you think that they will be provided with the opportunity that they will be able to start their business again, I think if you're expecting this from the current government, I don't think we'll get to it. So expecting this from the de facto government will not really be what we'll be getting to. I would request for you to directly work with the Afghan women. I'd request you to support the Afghan women. If in the current situation, the international community in the world or other human rights defending organizations, particularly those organizations that defend the economic rights of the women, because women have given a lot of sacrifices, and with that too, they still had just little been able to stand on their feet. So that is why it's very difficult, because if you will not support women, they will not remain standing on their feet. So we should just not be seen from far. We would like for you to support the women, stand behind the Afghan women in the business, and if there is a strong commitment, see, the Afghan women want to maintain the achievements that they have had. Although much has been compromised, much has been lost, but then again, there's still a little hope. They still have the bravery, they still have the courage, despite the terror and despite the oppression. I'll want for you to not just see it from far. I'll want for you to also do something for the Afghan women, particularly for the private sector. And our specific address can be Afghanistan Women Chambers of Commerce and Industry, all those organizations that are working for the Afghan businesswomen. Thank you.
Thank you, Guljan, for those remarks. What a great speaker you are. That was fantastic. Unfortunately, we have reached the end of the panel Q&A portion of the discussion, but I want to thank all four panelists for their active participation, as well as all of those who asked questions. And before I hand it back to Manija, I just want to say hello to both Afsana, Rahimi, and Parwash. It's great to see you. And so many other familiar names and faces. Thank you so much, Manija, for inviting me to participate in this session. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Erin, for greatly moderating the panel. Yeah, so I would like to request, of course, our audience to have some patience with us. Of course, it's been for a while, and it's a summit and Bibi Khadija award ceremony. So it would have taken us, a little bit longer than we had expected, and it is taking us. We hope you stay with us for another 20 minutes or so we get our Bibi Khadija award ceremony done. So thank you, Erin, for being available all these days, for every single thing, especially with the technology that I needed, and I was coming back and forth, and the speakers and so on. Thanks, Erin. Without you, I wouldn't have done this today. Thanks. All right, so